Joining us today, we have two distinguished speakers, Pancham Dogra and Abhishek Joshi. Welcome, Pankaj and Abhishek.
Thank
Pancham
you.
is Pancham is a seasoned professional with over 24 years of experience across diverse spheres of people operation and strategic leadership. Currently serving as a head of human resource at Times Internet, part of the Times of India group, Pancham combines a passion of innovation and digital business transformation with a commitment to employee well being and organizational excellence. His diverse portfolio and personal interest reflect a dynamic and holistic approach to leadership and life. Abhishek is a seasoned Gallup strength coach and practice head. With a rich background in talent management and organizational development, he has established strength based development as a transformative practice within numerous organizations, ranging from large scale companies to growth stage organizations. Welcome, Pancham and Abhishek.
Thank you, Neelam.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Pankaj.
As we know, middle level leaders play a pivotal role in organizations, especially now as they navigate the unique dynamics brought by Gen Z employees. Today's discussion, we will explore the challenges, opportunities, and strategies to foster meaningful leadership development in exciting age. Let's dive right in. So, to begin, I would like to set the stage with the broader question to both of you, Pancham and Abhishek. What unique challenges do middle level leaders face today as they navigate the needs of Gen Z employees who bring fresh perspective and expectation to the workplace? So, anyone can choose to answer first.
Pankaj, please, I request you.
Sure. We'll be happy to. Thank you. So, actually, it's very interesting that you asked this question because, like I was sharing with you, it was a back-to-back meeting conversations. Today has been a day of meetings. So, the last meeting that I attended before this, we were actually discussing talent review for one of the businesses, and in that talent review, we concluded that there are two problems that we are actually trying to solve across all our businesses: AI and Gen Z. So the question is, how do we cope with AI and how do we leverage it? And the same question for Gen Z as to how do you cope with them and how do you leverage their experience, their expertise. And in fact, it's very interesting. Uh, I asked another question on the same field, saying that is there really a challenge, or is this challenge unique?
Right.
Is this not something that throughout the history of leadership we have always had? For example, let's start looking at Alexander the Great. I mean, probably going back 3,000 plus years.
Right.
When he came to India, uh, before this, he was winning everything. But when he came to Hindu Kush, he
Hmm.
was faced with a very different terrain. It was
Right.
all forests, mountains. So whatever strategies he could actually use in his previous
Hmm.
battles, he could
Right.
not, and therefore the casualties, including injury, fatal injury to Alexander, happened to him.
Right.
So, and in India, when Alexander fought, it was
Right.
a huge chunk of mercenaries that they had to hire, local
Right.
fighters who were actually only getting, they were not part of Alexander's army, but they
Right.
were actually people who were fighting for money.
Hmm.
And one of such people actually was Chandragupta.
Hmm.
We know him as Sandrocotus.
Yeah.
So, and then over a period of time, Sandrocotus learned the way Greeks fight, and he defeated Seleucus Nicetas, later on, using the same tactics that he learned as a mercenary.
Right.
And then if you keep moving down the hierarchy, the fact is that something or the other has always been a challenge with leaders.
Yeah.
Current challenge that we talk about of Gen Z is actually not a Gen Z challenge. The
Yeah.
challenge that we are facing is a 5G challenge.
Hmm.
Because in the workplace today, we not only have Gen Zs, but we actually have people before them, Gen Ys, baby booms, right from baby boomers to Gen Zs. We have actually all these five different categories of folks who are there.
Right.
And the fact is, some of them, some of the middle managers have a team where you have one person who is 45 years old and the other person who is actually just moved into a team who's a fast tracker, 28 years old, and another one who, for example, has come from, let's say, a B school,
Right.
and has moved into the management rank very quickly. So how do you manage that? And therefore I say it's not only a Gen Z problem. And
Right.
then I figured out as to how do you solve for it. Uh, and I guess the only answer is to solve for any other business problem. You go back, break down the problem into the basic constituents, and then fight for it. We will delve into the solutions as we go along, but I think the biggest challenge today is, like I said, not Gen Z, but a 5G challenge. And the other challenge is how do you actually find first principles thinking to solve for this? That, in
Right.
my mind, at least in our organization, has been the biggest challenge.
No, thanks a lot. I think quite interesting. Very nice analogy. So, Neelam, my take on this is, yeah, middle level today leaders today face very unique challenge, as they navigate Gen Z employees. So if you look at uh, one challenge is demand for flexibility from Gen Z, then rapid growth opportunities. So gone are those days where people would be patient to look at a 5-year, 10-year career roadmap and wait for the growth opportunities for in a long term. It's very instant and short term focus. I'm doing well. I should be rewarded. I should be awarded. That's how it is. But there is one very interesting aspect which I have experienced while working with various organizations is uh, Gen Zs also value purpose more as compared to paycheck. In fact, there is a research done by Gallup. It also says that okay, Gen Zs value purpose more as compared to paycheck, and that's something which I have seen, and it has impact. It has impact on their productivity and consistency while working with the organization if they are aligned with the purpose. That's the challenge that we have. Another challenge, which I see middle level leaders face is that technology fluency. Gen Z's technology fluency is too good. At times, middle level leaders, because it's generation, right? So if you look at Gen Z's they are born in an era where internet was easily available. But a lot of people who are leading organization and middle level leaders, they were like, they have not seen that right from the birth. But so therefore, Gen Z's technology fluency is really, really great. So middle level leaders also face this challenge that how can they match technology fluency of Gen Z, not just at work, but in life, in normal conversations, and that's what I feel that okay. So these addressing these intergeneration differences in communication styles, the work values, these are a few challenges which I personally see that middle level leaders in today's world face while they work with Gen Z employees. So that's
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very well explained. Pancham, as you shared that 5Gs, it's like the one part of it. And Abhishek, definitely the technology functionality is also there with the Gen Zs, which has a very handy to them. So Pancham, that brings me to another question to you. That's in times internet, it's a trailblazer in a digital space. How is your organization adapting to its leadership development strategies to address the aspiration and working style of Gen Z employees?
No, I'm glad you asked that actually, because I'm going to take a cue from what Abhishek actually talked about. So he talked about purpose, he talked about technology and advent of technology. I'm going to extend that argument going slightly back. Uh, because we are talking about our organization, which is majority of the employee strength is based in India, I will actually, instead of giving a general view, I will talk about India as a country. See, most of the research that you find published about Gen Zs, for example, and one of the and that has been my disconnect with most of the research is that it's fairly generic, akin to stereotyping a complete generation. And I
right.
think that is one big mistake that we should not make.
Yes.
Why do I say that? For example, let's look at India. You have three cities: Bombay, Delhi, and Bangalore, which, for example, are comparable to any global city in terms of
Right.
the, the infrastructure, the opportunities, the growth, the spending power, and
Yeah.
the kind of education and other accessibility that you have. Then you
Right.
have next tier cities, which are the emerging cities like the Hyderabad of the world, the other metros, Indian metros like Chennai. Kolkata is
Right.
still slightly far behind, but you have Pune, you have Ahmedabad, and you have certain cities like that are coming up. And then you have the next gen cities, the Lucknows of the world, uh, potential smart cities as they come in. And
Right.
then you have developed rural areas.
Right.
If you go to Nashik, around
Right.
Nashik, for example, where vineyards are, and if you have large plantations in Punjab,
Right.
and Haryana. So these are developed rural areas where, for example, while they're not very densely populated, but in
Right.
terms of opportunities, they're very near to a metro,
Right.
and at the same time, they have all the infrastructure available to them, right?
Right.
And then you have very backward rural areas.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Now think of a Gen Z that is
Hmm.
born in each of these places. Will
Right.
you say that they're all the same?
Right.
No.
You
No.
can't say that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So therefore, that's why I said that, instead of actually generalizing, we have to actually find a very, very specific answer.
Right.
And that actually has been the hallmark of our leadership development curriculum in TIL. So
Wow.
what do? Instead of teaching them, for example, how do you deal with Gen Zs, or how do you
Hmm.
find a 5G problem, so to say,
Mm.
we actually teach them how do you define a problem,
Hmm.
how do you find the root cause of the problem, and
Right.
how do you solve for it.
Mm.
Right.
For example, one of the things that people say is, look, this person is very restless. It is
Hmm.
impossible to get hold of this person after 6 o'clock till next morning 9:30. Whatever I send to the fellow, I have no clue what's happening to that. And
Right.
then they said, look, I sent him something at 6 o'clock on Friday night. I get a very nice acknowledgement. Sure,
Right.
Pancham, I will
Right.
look into it first thing on Monday morning. Because, guys, understand, if I'm sending it to you on Friday, I need actually a solution over the weekend. But that's
Right.
Right.
not actually what how people react to it. But and
Right.
I think so that's the problem. So,
Hmm.
so the solution therefore is to actually, number one, either you plan it differently, or you
Right.
delegate it to somebody else,
Yeah.
or you do it yourself, for example,
Mm.
or you set that expectation right at the beginning that, look, occasionally there'll be work,
Hmm.
and if there is something that can be done on Friday, on Monday morning, I will not send that to you on Friday evening. If I send to you
Right.
something on Friday evening, you please treat it as urgent.
Right.
Mm.
And of course we can go on about it, but so what we said is, like, you define the problem and then you
Right.
actually find a solution. And when we actually taught them that, we actually tied up with QAI, and we
Mm.
asked them to come and do a complete problem solving workshop for us, where we taught them decision trees.
Mm.
Hmm.
Because we said, ultimately, see, when you deal with people, what are you dealing with? They are decision problems, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How do you allocate work? Who do you
Right.
promote?
Hmm.
How do you coach somebody? These are all
Right.
decisions.
Mm.
So if you teach them how to decide right, you have solved
Hmm.
the problem in many ways.
Yes.
So our curriculum has been around that. So that is one thing that we have done. The
Mm.
second thing that we have actually looked at doing is, we have also used a lot of cutting edge concepts now. For example, it is well known that, irrespective of the kind of people we are or which generation we are born in, our age
Right.
has a direct relationship to whether we wake up early
Hmm.
or we actually wake up late, or that means our circadian rhythm.
Mm.
Yeah.
uh, when we are younger,
Mm.
our circadian rhythm is actually slightly late. We wake
Mm.
Right.
up late, we
Right.
Mm.
sleep late, we are
Right.
slightly erratic in our moods. But
Mm.
Yeah.
as we keep moving ahead, actually we become much more stable in terms of our routines. Our mood swings actually become lesser over a
Right.
period of time, because experience teaches us many things, and so on and so forth. The other thing that we have also brought in is what we call life cycles.
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
When I'm between 25 to 28 years, my life would be very different, my needs are very different. When I get married, my needs are different. When I have the first child, my needs become very different. Mid career, my needs are very different. So what we have taught people actually is, how do you look at an individual
Mm.
Right.
as a productivity tool,
Hmm.
Mm.
and then you figure out what is happening with the tool,
Mm.
Wow.
and then you maximize it. For example, a person like, Daniel Pink's work talks about it. The early birds or the larks, then you have the owls or the late nighters. The work that I can give to, for example, early bird, I should
Right.
not give to the owl, because I know the productivity will be bad. Uh,
Right.
Mm.
then we teach them something like hungry judge effect,
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
which is a very well researched subject again, which says that, in court cases, the research was conducted. They found that when the court cases start,
Right.
uh, the sentencing is very lenient, the
Right.
judgments are very lenient, but as the lunch hour approaches, the sentencing became harsh.
Gosh.
And then after the lunch hour, again it became lenient,
Lenient.
and at the end it became harsher. So the question is,
Okay.
why does something like this happen, right? So that's the key, and it has to do with circadian rhythm. It has to do with how our body actually reacts, and so on and so forth. And we said, look, if you want to manage people, you need to know what they're feeling.
Right.
What is the circadian rhythm?
Right.
Which stage of life are they in? And
Right.
then you that is what we have brought to the curriculum, actually. Problem solving, and using the lens of problem solving, understanding individuals, not only people as cohorts.
Wow.
That's yeah,
Wonderful.
that's what we've done.
That that's so wonderful, and I'm sure this is very much, very insightful, and I'm sure everyone listening to it is also, getting insight, very good insight from this. So that brings me to a question to you, Abhishek. Gen Z employees value individuality and
Right.
purpose in their work, right? So how can strength-based approach help middle-level leaders effectively manage and motivate this new generation?
Sure. Thanks, Neelam. Before I answer this question, Pancham, I'm really enjoying the insights that you're sharing, and more than insights, what I'm enjoying the way you're telling the story. I mean, your
Yeah.
big round of applause and compliments to you for your storytelling skills. Amazing, and I'm really really enjoying. So that's something
Absolutely.
which is which is the highlight of the of today's podcast. Thanks a lot. Thank you
Yes.
so much. So yeah, Neelam. So to answer to respond to your question now. So if you look at when we work with middle level leaders or any level of leaders within the organization, idea is that how can we provide them more insights, more data about people, so that they can take correct decisions. Like Pancham said that it is all about teaching them about correct decisions. So when we talk about people related decisions, how can they be correct? Everyone says that okay, we allow people to follow their passion, we want to nurture their uniqueness. See, everyone has that intention of nurturing uniqueness, but is there any data point, is there any framework that can give them accurate data about people and their uniqueness? So when this happens, so when we apply strength based leadership as an approach, it allows leaders to first identify and nurture the unique talents of which they have. Then when they expand this practice to their team members, it also helps them understand data points about their team members. So, for example, let's say there are 34 strengths. We study top 5 strengths to start with of every individual. Now, I am a manager. I have complete insight about who I am. So, therefore, I understand. And when we look at where strengths are becoming an impediment, how I can apply my strengths more confidently, do I know about it? So, first of all, I have great insights about self. Then I have great insights about my team members. So I know not just what they say, what they bring on table, but I also understand their intentions. So what happens, my ability to take decisions about them and enhances. And then what I do, I can align, give them roles that align with their strengths, certain tasks which I know that they will really enjoy doing it. I can involve them more, and this will foster engagement. It will encourage autonomy, and it will help me as a leader to connect with Gen Z on a personal level and making them more feel more valued and purpose driven. That's what it does. It does it in a very non-threatening and non-prescriptive manner. And so the thought of differences are advantages, it gets established very well when we look at this aspect, and people enjoy it because they have data about self, data about people, and their ability to make decisions about people enhances, and their understanding about people enhances, and they have a neutral framework which is reliable, credible, valid. That's how this works.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek. Yes, this definitely will help, as understanding your individual strength and understanding about other strengths definitely help, take decisions, as you rightly said. So that brings me to another question. I will take this question to you, Pancham. As we already discussed, that Gen Z prioritizes flexibility and then they feedback and inclusivity. How can middle level manager balances these expectations while ensuring organizational goals are met?
So I think, see, you talked about Gen Z, but I think COVID has actually made it almost like for everybody a priority. That people, I think COVID, the 1.5 years of turmoil that everybody went through, In fact, if I were to look at epochs and eras, so there is a pre-COVID era in workplaces and post-COVID era in workplaces, and I think many things that we associate with Gen Zs actually today are also being associated with every other generation in many ways. For example, who doesn't want flexibility today?
Right.
Yeah.
we keep we keep hearing about when people were asked to return to work, people resigned because they said we cannot do this and all those things. I mean, of course, the newspapers and media keeps covering a lot of it.
Hmm.
The other interesting thing that COVID did, I think people started valuing their life more. So
Yeah.
because they suddenly realized that we don't know what's going to come to us. It's
Hmm.
almost like that scene in Gladiator movie where they are in the arena, and Russell Crowe actually tells everybody, we don't know what's going to come out of these gates, but whatever it does, the only way for us to survive is to stick together. So
Right.
I think that's something that everybody has taken to heart now. So
Absolutely.
I think and therefore I think a lot of people and certainly Gen Z, of course, so they have started expecting in the psychological contract
Right.
flexibility. They have started asking in their psychological contract ability to actually pace their own work and
Right.
therefore not be micromanaged. And you simply say, look, you measure my work, don't measure my clock.
Hmm.
Right.
I think that is something that we see happening. In fact, in our company, while we have started calling people to work slowly, but we have allowed the managers, even today, managers
Hmm.
have the flexibility to actually let people operate from home. Let's say,
Right.
days a week, 1 day a week, depending on whatever works for the team dynamics. So,
Hmm.
as a company, we have not established a policy that everybody will work 3 days from here and 2 days from home or something like that. We
Hmm.
have empowered our managers to do that. And I think the question that you asked is, how do you actually make sure that the managers are able to manage? I think
Right.
Hmm.
organizations can do this because, see,
Right.
manager alone cannot do anything. Manager is not
Hmm.
acting in isolation. Manager is part of a larger institution.
Right.
Right.
So unless the institution empowers the managers,
Hmm.
Right.
managers can't do much.
Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
think let's be
Hmm.
honest about some of these things. It is unfair to expect middle managers to
Hmm.
be able to manage all the flexibility expectations when the workplace does not allow any.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the workplaces have to actually allow that.
Yes,
So we
that's.
have taken a very conscious call that
Hmm.
we are not going to measure your clock. We are
Hmm.
not going to put these softwares which will tell us whether you're on screen or not. We
Hmm.
will simply look at your productivity.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And that is why, for example, we have a very generous leave policy. We
Hmm.
still, in fact, we were contemplating a month back saying, should we actually relook the leave policy? When we
Hmm.
looked at the leave data, we realized that despite the generous leave policy and accumulation policy that we have, people don't take leaves
Hmm.
Right.
because I
Right.
think it is baked in their work. So they're able to find that flexibility. And I
Hmm.
must also tell you, between last year and this year, our business has grown 23 plus percent.
Now.
So without doing anything,
Yeah.
without tightening the noose, so called, we were able to manage all that. So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, and that's absolutely aligned with the thoughts that I am also very much aligned. That which what you said is measure my work, not my time, not the
Yeah.
clock. That's what you said, and I totally agree with that. And one more thing is empowering the managers. So this is I really imbibe that, and also I practice at this as well, that I also aligned with this thought that this is empowering managers definitely will help in the larger run. So that brings me to another question that as in leadership style must evolve with these times. In your experiences, what leadership qualities or skills are becoming non-negotiable for middle level leaders in an organization that employs a significant Gen Z workforce?
So, Pancham, I'm
So
enjoying
any
listening to
so
you.
was that a question
so
for
both
Abhishek or me?
both of
No,
you,
for,
anyone can choose to answer.
Okay, okay, okay. No, Abhishek, please.
yeah, yeah,
I
sure,
don't
sure,
want
sure.
to take time. I
No,
mean, that's
sure.
not.
No, no. Thanks a lot. In fact, I'm enjoying listening to you and getting perspectives, very interesting perspectives. Like you said, workplace flexibility. You said, it's required. Who doesn't want flexibility nowadays? Therefore, in this era, Neelam asked, what leadership qualities or skills are becoming non-negotiable. So one is that ability to be flexible and be adaptable to various situations. That's not just for middle level leaders, for anyone. And like you said, it is not only middle level leaders who have a role to play here. Workplace organization also has. Like, I really like that you do not have any policy, but you empowered your managers, and that's how the work has been managing, and there is a growth in the business. Absolutely, that's a great example. Similarly, like I said, digital fluency. This will only happen. The workforce efficiency will increase when people are digitally fluent, and that's a very essential skills when I look at today. And one skill, which Pancham you are demonstrating here, is ability to communicate, and communicate very very clearly. That's a skill which is required, because if you look at many times, a lot of people are not able to do perform to their potential, because a lot of them do not have very clear expectation setting. So they don't know what is expected out of me. And while the middle level leaders or manager will keep on doing all other things very nicely, but this fundamental aspect where what is expected out of me at work, that's something which is required. How to do expectation setting, reviewing, coaching, right? These are certain elements which are required. And middle level leaders, if they are able to, more than driving people, if they are able to align people with self and then with organization goal, that will lead to a lot of openness, and that will also lead to initiative orientation. So if I look at, these are certain areas where middle level leaders definitely required support. Some kind of support will come from training, skill building. Some kind of support will come from the way the organization's culture is, the workplace culture has been designed in the organization. So that's my view about this, Neelam. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. Pancham?
So, in fact, Abhishek, you beautifully answered that. But I think the question that we have to always look at, for example, is uh, uh, you know see, when competencies started. I mean, 1980s. I don't think anybody even referred to the concept of competencies. And then Richard Boyatzis wrote this book, The Competent Manager. So then
Right.
suddenly everything became about competencies. And then Salovey and Mayer wrote probably the best book on emotional intelligence, but nobody noticed it. But when Daniel Goleman actually published it, everybody started talking about emotional intelligence. And then Daniel Goleman published Working with Emotional Intelligence, and then competencies. And now when you look at EI competencies, every possible competency that you see, you will find that competency listed as EI competencies.
Yeah.
So it is very difficult at times, therefore, to figure out what is essential and what is
Hmm.
actually non-essential for managers. It appears
Yeah.
that manager has to become almost like Avengers in one. You know, all the Avengers in one person to manage. Having said that, yeah, so I think one of the things that we have been able to do, I think, is we have been able to articulate very specific set of requirements. We don't call them competencies because we believe that those requirements are about not only about behavior but also thoughts, and also actually in many ways conduit to results. Actions which are conduit to results. So the first thing we have actually told our people, and we use this framework which was given by Decision Labs called Mindspace. So, so again, the interest was, for example, see, how people understand behavior has also changed. And it's actually very interesting. I must add this, as part of my PhD, when I opted for strategic management, I thought I would actually study a lot of paper on business strategy, comparative advantage, comparative strategy, and other things. Of course, I'm studying that, but a huge chunk of work in strategic management is how leaders behave
Right.
and how human judgment is flawed.
Hmm.
So I'll give you an example. So so there was a in Israel. There was this set of pilots who go through this Air Force training.
Hmm.
So whenever a pilot would actually land the plane, and landing is perfect, the person
Hmm.
would be said, "Great job, great job, great job." And the next time the landing happened, invariably the landing was worse than the previous one.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when this was a pattern, so the Israeli Air Force said that praise is bad.
Hmm.
Because every time you praise a pilot, he becomes overconfident, and the next landing is bad.
That.
Right.
And because the next landing is bad, you reprimand, and the next landing again becomes better.
Hmm.
Mm.
So they are saying that the only rule that works in Israeli Air Force is actually when you reprimand people.
Mm.
Hmm.
And then Daniel Kahneman, who wrote Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow, he was brought in
Hmm.
to figure out what can we do to make things better in training and other things. And when he actually studied this pattern, he was shocked. He
Hmm.
says, "What are you guys doing?" I mean, he said, "Haven't you heard of this term called regression to the mean?" So he says, "Look, every performance will regress to the mean.
Mm.
So if there is a superlative performance, next performance will not be as superlative
Yes.
because ultimately it comes to the mean. If the
Mm.
performance is very bad, the next will be better because at
Better.
over a period of time it will actually regress to the mean."
Mm.
Right.
So we teach our managers this, that 1 year of great performance does not make the person superlative.
Mm.
Right.
And we ask people to actually, what we call heuristics. We said
Hmm.
they're good to use, but I think you should actually be wary of using them every time.
Right.
So one of the key competencies, like I talked about earlier also, is first principles thinking.
Hmm.
Break down the problem, find the root cause. That is
Right.
one key competency that we have talked to our people. Second thing we have talked to them about is the role modeling.
Mm.
Why role modeling? Because, like I was sharing with you, the neurosciences and all the things that have happened. One of the important discoveries of neurosciences, actually, in the space of coaching and development, is a model called Mindspace.
Mm.
Now, Mindspace is a long acronym. You can Google it. I mean, the audience, you can just Google it. If you type Mindspace and
Acronym.
then the coaching model, it will actually give you all the entire research. It's a very well researched framework. But what is the first M? The
Hmm.
first M is messenger. So it says the message is important, but
Hmm.
messenger is all the more important and
More
probably
important.
the most important person.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
a Gen Z person will not listen to somebody he or she does not respect. I mean, that's true for everybody, I would say, but
Yeah.
certainly more for Gen Z.
Right.
And that respect does not have to be, you don't have to be a nice person. That's the
Hmm.
other thing I think that we also figured out. For example, let's look at the startup founders, all the successful startup founders. You will find invariably that they would have some of the other idiosyncrasy. I mean, if you
Right.
go to some more famous names, look at Elon Musk. I
Mm.
am not sure you would want to call him the nicest of leaders,
Yes.
but
Absolutely.
probably the most successful leader, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Steve Jobs, everybody knew about his
Yes.
temper and
Mm.
everything, and the fact that he was pathetic with people, uh,
People. Yeah.
but he could get the best out of them despite that.
Yeah.
Mm.
And even today, if you give a Gen Z an option of working with Steve Jobs and Elon Musk versus someone, for example, who's a very nice guy but has a failed
Mm.
startup, who do you think
Mm.
they're going to choose?
Of course.
So messenger, right? So messenger is very important,
Right.
and that messenger actually for different people will mean different things.
Right.
Mm. Mm.
For some, it will be a nice person when I'm in trouble. For some, it will
Hmm.
be a very demanding person because it's my formative years and my work ethic gets built, and I want to
Right.
build
Mm.
that.
Hmm.
Mm.
And for them, it is purely about just paying me that attention that I seek for that time.
Mm.
Right.
At times, you don't have to give a solution. At times, you just allow people to vent out. That itself is actually a big service to the individual.
Right.
So that's the second thing that we tell them, that become a role model, become
Mm.
a messenger that everybody wants to receive messages from.
Hmm.
And the
Mm.
last thing that we always tell them is messenger and decisions.
Hmm.
All this has to align to one organizational goal, which is the organizational financial performance.
Right.
Right. Mm.
Because unless that is met, we won't have a messenger, we won't have a message. That's the number.
Yeah, that is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. And I'm definitely going to take this with me that the financial goals should be met.
Without it, there is nothing,
Of
So
course, of course. Definitely. So now the question is for you, Abhishek. As the pillar of strength-based leadership, that trust, stability, compassion, and hope, and more relevant than ever,
Right.
how can middle-level leaders use these principles to build meaningful connections with Gen Z team members?
Sure, Neelam. I like to keep my answer short because I'm enjoying
Yes.
listening to Pancham here. So,
Right.
I'll just give you answer to this question. So,
Mm,
if you look at strength-based leadership, we talk about four things: trust, stability, compassion, and hope. And we make it very, very simple. How does it work? So, trust. There is nothing fancy that you have to do to build trust. You understand yourself with the help of data point,
mm,
understand others with the help of data point, align with them using that.
mm,
And that
mm,
that to get unique perspectives of yours and also other people. You know them well, and
mm,
also you work with them accordingly. So that helps you build trust, because that will help you build meaningful connections with
mm,
people, and you can be more transparent and more
mm,
reliable. So it's very simple, if you know people around you and you can be transparent with them, that will help you build trust.
mm,
Then second, because now you know people with the help of data points. So what you can do, you can provide them stability by setting very clear expectations, because you know them, who they
mm,
are, what they do.
mm, mm,
Third, how will you provide stability? How will you provide compassion? How will you demonstrate compassion using strength-based leadership? Again,
mm,
now you understand each and every individual using data points. So what will happen? You will be more aware about their individual needs, and
mm.
therefore compassion will come automatically. Hope, and as a leader, you will have to, you'll have to be a messenger. And I really like that phrase.
Correct, correct.
So
Right.
therefore, then
Yes.
only you can talk about positive vision for future, and then you can create an environment where they feel supported and motivated. So this is how strength-based leadership helps in simply working around these four pillars: trust, stability, compassion, and hope. So
Yeah.
that's the answer
Thank
to
you.
my.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek. So we'll not become a barrier for you to, to listen to Pancham. Now, the next question is for Pancham. So, a generational gap can sometimes lead to friction in teams. So, what strategies can middle-level leaders employ to bridge these gaps and create a cohesive, collaborative work environment?
So actually, I think again, I will not generalize the answer, but let me just give
Mhm.
you maybe two different snapshots, which will help you maybe appreciate the point that I'm trying to make. Actually, so let's look at a design team,
Mm.
right? So full of creative people, irrespective of the age. Actually, you will find creative people, and I think our design sensibilities are rooted in our culture also in many ways. You
Right.
will find that, because where I have come from, those design sensitivities would always come in, and therefore you will find Indian designers would use more colorful designs than maybe European designers
Yeah.
who would use more monochrome tones and other things, right? So when these people come in together, the fact is that there's bound to be heated conversations, heated arguments, likes, dislikes, very strong likes and dislikes, and actually brainstorming. No, no, I'm saying it. This is right. I'm saying it. This is right, and so on and so forth. And at times you don't really need to do anything there, because that
Right.
is healthy argument. What is the argument eventually? Which is going to be the best design?
Mm,
Right. So when you know that everybody is aligned to that goal,
mm,
these arguments are healthy, and you don't want to actually change that friction. The
mm,
Right.
second thing is, especially in a highly ambitious teams, there is a game of one-upmanship. Even though you say that no, no, there is no competition, bullshit. I mean, there is always competition. I will always look at the person next to me, and
mm,
I will always want to earn more. I will also
Yeah.
mm,
always want to actually be appreciated more. I will
mm,
always want to actually get promoted first.
mm.
I don't think I've heard of anybody who's so generous saying, "मुझे promotion मत दो, इसको दे दो."
Mm.
Right. So the fact is that, and I think in many ways, managers, instead of actually trying to reduce that,
Mm,
can at times actually bring in that healthy competitiveness.
Right.
Right. So therefore, instead of managing to pacify, you can
mm,
manage to actually put some fire under each one
Mm.
of them,
Mm.
mm,
saying, "Boss," and that's why you have these leaderboards, for example, that we have.
Right.
And so in sales, for example, what sells the most?
Mm.
The incentives, right?
Yeah.
right,
And the fact that I see my name on the leaderboard gives me the kick, because then
right.
I'm the alpha. So I think that actually a competitive organization or high growth organization, because I'm talking about maybe the ecosystem like ours, which is like digital domains where the things are changing very fast, and we got to be very very quick because results don't wait. Our windows of opportunities are actually very limited, for example,
Yeah.
right? So there you don't have a choice. In fact, what we also do, and deliberately in our organization, I can tell you, is
Hmm.
we simply tell people, look, our goal eventually is to go 50, like 50% growth. I'm just giving an example, right?
Right.
Team A will also strive for it, team B also. It
Right.
should not happen that team A will do 30% and therefore team B says 30% तो उसने कर लिया, मैं तो सिर्फ 20% करूंगा. So we tell both the teams, for example, that you got to do 50%, you got to do 50%. So it's 50% cumulative is not enough. And I think as individuals also eventually it has to be, and if you incentivize it right,
Right.
it will only give you higher productivity. uh, See, the fact is that in organization, I mean, I don't think there is a utopian organization anywhere, right? No matter what one says, people will be very nice to each other, they will enjoy, they will party, but when it comes to competing, they will
Right.
compete. And
Right.
as long as managers know that, and as long as they know there is no bad actor, it's
Hmm.
okay. But when you have a bad actor, I think there you should take a very swift call, saying, look, I appreciate you're a great performer, but your behavior, your brash behavior, your disdain for discipline, or your disdain for organizational framework, we don't tolerate. So spike is good if it brings growth to the organization, but spike is
Right.
not good if it brings growth to the organization at the risk of long-term business success.
Right.
That difference, I think managers have to tread beautifully.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. That's wonderfully explained, Pancham. So now I think we have almost time. So I would like to take another final question. So, what are the top three pieces of advice you would like to give to the middle level leaders to adapt their leadership style to the evolving needs of Gen Z while driving organizational success? So, Pancham, if you would like to go first.
I think I've said it actually. So I've said that there are three things which is what we also prioritize, and I think we have seen success with that. So we will continue to advocate that. One is, I think, root cause. First, principle based thinking. Go to the root cause of the problem. Second is the messenger. You have to become the right messenger for different people. Otherwise, it won't happen. And third is, none of this is relevant if you're not meeting the business objective. And I
Right.
think I think that actually is a critical thing. So within the confines of the organizational framework, you have to meet the numbers.
Right.
Second, you have to make sure that you solve problems and see every business decision as a problem you need to solve. And the last but not the least, you have to make sure that people actually find you the right messenger for the right messages.
Great.
Right, right. That's wonderful. Yes, absolutely. I'm totally aligned. Abhishek, your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Nilan. Thanks a lot. So my three key takeaways, or maybe pieces of advice that I would like to say is that uh, look at people using data. Don't stereotype, don't judge them. Try and understand uh, neutral data points about people. And once you do that, you will be able to do four things really well. You'll be able to do expectation setting really well. You'll be able to do role modeling very well. You'll be able to do review very well, coach very well, and then you will be able to help them action plan in whatever you want them to do at work out their life. So if these things can be done simply, I think a lot can be achieved. That would be that's my way of looking at it, Neelam.
Okay. Okay, that's wonderful. So what I am taking away from this call, that first, as Pancham has mentioned, that root causing, then messenger needs, it's very important, very very important. Then these are the business objectives should be met, and then what you explained, Abhishek, that these, I'm sure the audience have very much aligned and taking away very insightful thoughts from this podcast. So now I would like to thank both of you, Pancham and Abhishek, for sharing these valuable insight your expertise has provided practical and strategic and deeper understanding on how middle-level leaders can thrive in this new age leadership. So, to our audience, thank you for joining us today. We hope you found this session helpful and that you have gained actionable takeaways to apply. And that's what I'm very 100% sure of. They have taken actionable, takeaways from this podcast. And you can apply to your leadership journey. And if you have any question, please reach out to us on LinkedIn or drop an email to Neelam, strengthmasters.com. Thank you all, and we will conclude today's discussion. Have a very good evening. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Neelam,
you,
for being
Pancham.
able to host.
Thank you, Neelam.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Abhishek. It was
Thank
nice
Thank
you.
you, Pancham. It was really nice to be with you and listen to your thoughts. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Abhishek. Thank you,
Bye.
Pancham. Bye. Have a great evening.